1. Just a little bit ago I was asleep. I was actually dreaming, so I was in a pretty deep sleep state. It was very vivid. My dream suddenly cut, and I was looking, plain as day, into my bedroom, when I felt a searing tingling throughout my entire back. Let me stress that, only my back. I've experienced sleep paralysis tons of times, and it's always a tingling throughout my body, followed by some hallucinations of figures and whatnot. I then witnessed what I can only describe as a four-legged creature, extremely detailed, and the only way I can describe it was it had a human-like head, and it was like it was wearing a fitted black sheet. It didn't move smoothly either. It seemed to stutter through the air at the end of the bed, coming toward me and then behind me, out of my sight. After trying to follow it with my eyes, I looked back over to where my girlfriend was sleeping, and I saw an unexplainable thing too. It was a child, maybe 3 to 5 years old, bald and pale. At first, I could only see the top of the head. I closed my eyes to compose myself, and when I opened them, it was looking at me. Its face was sunken in, black around the eyes and dark, bead-like eyes. It made no noise and didn't move. I closed my eyes again. At this point, the only thing I could think to do was scream, "The power of Christ compels you." Not really sure why. When I did that, though, the burning intensified and radiated. When I say intensified, I mean it intensified significantly. That's when I saw a blurred white figure momentarily. And the next thing I know, I'm out of it. I can move and function, and I woke my girlfriend up. I immediately told her to look at my back, which was no longer burning, and I had a red scratch mark running from my left shoulder blade to my lower back, along with other smaller marks. They have all since gone away. I'm just curious as to what the hell just happened. I have never had a manifestation in sleep paralysis be so vivid and clear and deliberate in its actions. Normally, it's just a black figure standing over the bed or in the corner. Also afterwards, mind you, I'm hot and sweaty at this point. The area to my left became ice cold, and my girlfriend could feel it as well. Mind you, it's winter, and we have the heat on. When she prayed over me with both of us lying still, my water in my water bottle was moving noticeably. Earlier in the night, she heard knocking in the kitchen, and we both heard what sounded like a pan falling. I don't feel scared like I was trying to be shown something or warned. Let me know what you think. 2. So this happened 10 years ago now, but I still remember it vividly. This was when I was 18 years old and lived with my parents and siblings in a small town that was right near the Rocky Mountains in Canada. It was summertime and about 11:30 at night, and it was a clear night with good visibility. We no longer live in that town, but aren't too far from it now. My friend, who was 17 at the time, also lived with us, and she was with me and saw what I saw. At the time, my family and I were part of what we've now come to know as a cult. This is relevant to the story because it is why we were out late and my parents' door was locked. Me and my friend were told that we had to live with the leaders of the cult at this time. It's irrelevant to go into why for this story. The cult leader's house was across the back alleyway and a few houses down from my parents' house. We did not want to live with them, so we would spend as much time as possible at my parents' house, and leave very late at night to go to the cult leader's house. So now back to the story. Like I said, it was around 11:30 at night, summertime, clear night. We leave my parents' back door to head to the cult leader's house. My mum locks the door behind us, turns off the lights, and I assume goes to bed. My friend and I walk through our backyard and are in the alleyway. Our backyard has no fence, it just goes straight into the alleyway. We turn left as the cult leader's house is a few houses down and across the alleyway. With a slow incline and bend, I'm hoping this makes visual sense. And behind us, the alleyway stretches a good 5 or so houses back straight. Right as we step into the alleyway, we hear garbage cans from behind us, about a few houses distance behind us, being knocked around. I can only describe this like, imagine someone clumsily knocking into them, and trying to stop them from falling down, so they keep knocking them. Because we live right near the mountains, we're used to a ton of wildlife in town, bears, cougars, moose, etc. So my initial instinct is that it's a bear, and we've startled it while it was getting into someone's garbage. I immediately panic and am wondering if we go back through the yard and bang on my parents' back door that's locked, or if we make a quick break for the cult house, because it's most certainly unlocked. I'm making these calculations very split-second because it's all happening so fast. My friend starts saying my name over and over, and grabbing my arm. She's looking back towards the garbage cans while I'm trying to plan what to do. Then all of a sudden she screams and I look over my shoulder. Not really any time to think or process at all. Then I see it. It was huge and flying. It swooped over our heads, maybe 4 feet above us, and continued up higher, maybe getting to about 15 feet. Again, no time to think, we were both just screaming and yelling at this point. Here's the kicker. It flew right towards the cult leader's house. It banked between the cult leader's house and the house beside it and flew out of sight. When it banked, we had a really clear view of it, and the streetlights across the alleyway illuminated it well. Now I will describe what it looked like and how I could not fathom that it could be anything other than paranormal. Its wingspan was about 8 to 9 feet long, maybe larger. It was inky black. I mean, totally just the darkest black I can describe. I have never seen anything like it before or since, color-wise. It had no distinguishable features, no feathers, no head, no eyes, no beak, no legs, nothing. The best way I can describe it is if you imagine a huge stingray, minus the tail and much, much larger, longer wings. My friend describes it like, imagine a shadow of a large flying creature, but a much more solid, darker shadow. It wasn't transparent. Like if you touched it, you would feel it for sure. Or at least, you would think you would. It made no sound other than the smashing of the garbage cans, so it definitely was a physical being, and flew so beautifully, so smoothly. The way it banked between the houses was so effortless, and with it being so large, it was impressive. Anyways, we were totally stunned and shocked and so frightened. We stood there for a short time watching to see if it would come back, but it never did. Eventually, we gathered ourselves and decided to go to the cult house, even though that was the way the creature went, because the door would be unlocked. When we got inside, we immediately went to one of the leaders, the woman, there were two, a man and a woman, and told her everything as best we could, totally freaked out and shaken up. And when we were finished, she paused and looked at us for a while with a strange look on her face, and simply said, and I remember this verbatim, "Where there is great light, there will be great darkness." And then she walked off. My friend and I stayed up for hours by the front window looking out, wondering if we would see it, but we never did. And we never saw it again thereafter. I have since that experience attempted to Google on quite a few occasions, and have not found anything even remotely similar to what we saw. So has anyone potentially seen this being? Or does anyone have any insight? Thank you so much for listening. 3. So this is real, and it's not really scary, but it is strange. When I lived in Florida, around Jupiter, we had Juneau and the Merzinski Beach. My whole life I grew up on this beach, and at night some strange things have happened, from UFOs to apparitions. I've always felt a strong natural spirit here. Later in my teenage years, I was often kicked out of the house anywhere from weeks to months at a time. I lived on these beaches. Most specifically, I almost always stayed at Shower 39. Shower 39 was the heaviest I felt this nature spirit. I even saw what I dubbed a beach demon, there in the trees. 2 of my other friends saw this and still talk about this. Still, for whatever reason, I felt safe here and comfortable, sleeping below the shifting canopies of the sea grape forest. The way the beaches are laid out, there is a sidewalk, then a long stretch of sea grape forest that stretched the entire beach, then the beach. I have spent many an isolated night on my own on those beaches, from 16 till 23. There was this tree that me and my friends dubbed the Spirit Tree. It was an uprooted tree that appeared on the beach in certain months. It was up on the beach mostly in the winter months. It'd wash up when the storms came, and it'd be on the beach for a couple of weeks or a few days. It'd be right where the surf met the beach, as most trees that washed up would be in the surf. Now, what made this tree unique is that it was the same tree every time for as long as I can remember. It would also wash up in the same general area from shower 32 to shower 44, most prominent around shower 39. My personal favorite shower where I've experienced the strangest things in my life. I see it a lot while I was on serious psychedelic journeys, but other people who were sober and with me would see the tree and they always freaked out. Because on the rational side, this should not be possible. But here it was, with most of the deepest carvings remained on it, the exact same tree months later. You would drive yourself insane trying to figure it out. And around the tree, everyone would feel this vibe of deep respect, mystery, peace, love, and wonder. For some, it would elicit an overwhelming feeling of anxiety. I remember I was with this one girl when I found it one day. She didn't fully believe me, but insisted that we leave. I was climbing all over it, hugging it, looking at all our old carvings. I was tripping. Eventually, reluctantly, I agreed to keep walking the beach. She later told me, at one point, she felt so nervous around it, she couldn't catch her breath. I loved the spirit tree, and most of us hippies did as well. It was something that made no sense. The spirit tree showed itself to me a lot when I was in troubling times, and it always made me feel comfortable. However, every strange or paranormal experience I had on that beach, from UFOs, ghosts, strange altered states that made no sense, and even one beach demon-like creature happened after I saw the spirit tree. Still, it never scared me, the spirit tree, anyways. This is one of many of my strange paranormal experiences. This, however, is the most nostalgic. And thoughts of the spirit tree make me happy as I remember this almost bond I had with it. Many nights alone after getting kicked out of my house, I'd go to the beach feeling a deep lonely depression, just to find the spirit tree, and it would always lift my spirits. Believe this or not, I promise you this happens on the beaches of Mersinski and Juneau. And if you find a tree washed up on the beach one late night, around shower 39, with carvings all over it, looking older than time itself, show your respects to this wonderful, amazing spirit tree if it takes your fancy. Don't if you don't want to. To many it'll just be a washed-up tree. But to those of us who know that beach like the back of our hands, this tree is so much more. I know I sound nuts and like a total hippie, but I have loads of friends who have never touched a drug in their lives, who are still in awe and can't explain this. I promise you it's the same tree, and I like to personify it. I like to think that this tree is some kind of nature spirit, and she knows me, knows my heart, and is happy that I'm keeping her legend alive. 4. This happened many years ago. To preface, I don't believe in the paranormal, but to me it's really fun to think about. And this experience I had definitely has the paranormal vibes some stories do. I was in high school in Northern California. My closest friend was having a family reunion that I was invited to. Around 9 p.m., the last family had arrived, and for some reason they didn't have their daughter with them. I literally don't know why they left her, so they asked us to get her. Tizian just got his first car, and when you finally have that freedom, anything is a good excuse for a road trip, and they live 2.5 hours away. But they gave us money for gas, so we pile in the car, and we're on the way without a second thought. We've got music going, snacks, all around just enjoying a good time. Finally, we get off the highway and find ourselves in a secluded, forested town. No big deal. We find the last turn and are going down a tiny dirt road with thick forest on both sides. Eventually, the radio starts to cut away a little bit, and I turn it down so we aren't just listening to static. But this little dirt road just goes on and on and on, to the point of absurdity. So me and Tizian start joking. Who in the world would come out this far to build a house? Then, and this will stick with me for the rest of my life, This overpowering smell comes into the car. Copper. So thick it's almost suffocating. We both retched, and it made my stomach turn. It was so heavy in the air I felt like it could be cut with a knife. We kept going through, and eventually we made it to a wooden bridge about 20 feet long. As we kept on going, the smell dissipated, and the radio came back in. We eventually made it to a clearing with about 5 houses, which we immediately started laughing about. Not only did they come all the way out here to build one house, they built 5, but in the middle of the woods. Why? We pick up his cousin Shy, yes, that is her name, and I immediately ask her about the smell coming in. She has no clue what I'm talking about. There has never been a smell before. But she gets in the car, and is about our age, and has the same taste in music. A song comes on that she likes, and she wants to turn it up, so we do. And now it's almost midnight, and we're blasting music back down the absurdly long road, back the way we came. As expected, the radio starts to cut out little by little, and then the smell hits us again. Not gradually, though, more like smacking into a wall made of pennies. I immediately turn to Shy and ask again, and she is absolutely disgusted, and assures us this is not normal. But as she is saying that, we come back onto that bridge, and as we are making it over, suddenly the car stops. I turn to Tizian and ask what he's doing. It's not me. And he lifts his knee higher to show that he's stepping on the gas. And that's when I hear the terrible sound of tires not making connection with the ground, and the car starts ever so slightly, lifting from the back. We all immediately look out the back window and are met with nothing but darkness. The angle we are at isn't anything extreme, just enough to feel your weight shift. But whatever it is, it's lifting a Chevy Tahoe. Shy immediately starts screaming, and admittedly, I'm freaking out a little too. And the sounds of static, a girl screaming, and the engine and tire spinning freely are getting to me. I'm frantically looking out every window trying to assess the situation, but I just don't see anything. Then Tizian yells out in panic, and just then, suddenly, the back end drops. The car lurches forward, and we very nearly almost run into a tree, but thankfully Tizian regains control. We speed out of there as fast as we could, and very quickly, the smell clears, and we find ourselves out of the forest and back on a paved road. When the radio came back, the mood was entirely too wrong, so I just turned it off, as we drove down the lonely highway in silence. When we made it to a gas station, we immediately went to the back of the Tahoe to see a giant dent covering most of the center. And then Tizian finally broke the silence. I think I saw it. Shy then replied, I did too. I didn't see anything at all, but when I pressed for information, it was clear they didn't want to talk about it. Years later, when I brought it up one day, Tizian swears he saw what looked like hooves very briefly in the side view mirror. Being a skeptic, I'm not sure I really trust him, but I also have absolutely zero clue what could have lifted the back of a Tahoe. Honestly, I've told this story to many of my friends, and never once have I or anyone else thought of something logical that makes sense. And paranormal makes even less sense. Why would a paranormal being capable of lifting a Tahoe let us go? Really wish I just got out of the car and checked out what happened. It's a question that has stuck with me my whole life. 5. Okay, so the first known time this thing happened was about 2 or 3 years ago. I was coming home from a detention I had after school. That was an hour long. It was about 4:15 in the afternoon. As I'm literally stepping foot through the door, my brother and his friend walk into the kitchen. His friend looks at me and says, How did you get downstairs so fast? I was confused, and I said I just got home. He started acting weird with me, being like, stop messing about, and you were just upstairs in your bed. I kept telling him I just got home, but he was dead set on the fact that I was just asleep upstairs. My brother then went back upstairs, and I just assumed he'd forgot something at this point. My brother hadn't said a word to me, but when we talked about it later on, he said the reason he went back upstairs is because he too saw me in bed, and was checking to see if anyone was in my room. Since then, multiple people have seen me or something that looks like me around the house. It started off as just being me, but recently, my friend has seen my brother a few times. Once I actually heard her say hi to him in the kitchen, and I thought she was saying hi to me, so I went into the kitchen, and she said, "WTF, where did Riley go? He was stood there at the sink." I was laughing because I was sat in the living room, so my brother would have had to walk past me to get in and out of the kitchen. So again, I thought she was joking at first. Then I remembered I'd never even told her about the past experiences like this. I honestly have no idea what's going on. All I know is something keeps presenting itself as me and my brother to people, and it's getting pretty creepy. Does anyone have any ideas on what this thing might be? There have been so many little experiences that have happened in my house, and nearly everyone has seen something. Not a single one of my friends have stayed over and not experienced something. A couple more examples. Me and one of my best friends were sat downstairs at like 1 or 2 a.m. She had fallen asleep while I was still watching the TV, and the door to the kitchen started rattling a little. At first I blew it off because it does that sometimes, due to the slight draft from my front door. But then the handle started shaking aggressively, like it was being messed with. I woke my friend up and told her we were sleeping in my room instead. We fell asleep with my door closed and locked, which I don't normally do, but my friend couldn't sleep unless it was dark. At about 3:30 a.m., my friend wakes me up and tells me my door just opened. I looked and my bedroom door was wide open, but it was locked from the inside, so there's no way to open it from the outside. It also couldn't have been her because I have a single bed, so we were pretty cramped to each other. I would have felt her get out of bed to open the door. Another small thing that happens very often. My great-grandma passed away a couple years ago, and because my bedroom is extremely small, my nan, her granddaughter, gave me great-grandma's wardrobe, and as it's very small and could easily fit, I also have my grandma's engagement ring, which she gave to me when she was alive. When I tell you I hear her knocking from this wardrobe every day and every night, I kind of made a joke out of it. And it will be like, "Okay, come on, Laura, stop it," and it will stop every time I tell it to. There's also a specific corner in my living room. It has a big leather spinning chair in it, and has always given me the strangest feeling, like very uneasy. One night, me, my brother, and 2 friends were sat watching TV, and no one was sitting in that corner when all of a sudden, one of my friends looked over and screams, and starts covering her eyes. I started covering my ears and freaking out a bit because I was startled when we asked her why she'd screamed. She said she saw a tall, dark figure of a man stood in the corner, behind the chair. There's loads more things that have happened in my house. None of it seriously creeps me out, apart from whatever that thing is that keeps appearing as me or my sibling. Something about that makes me very uneasy. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Paranormal Stories, episode 264. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then please do share it around. It's very helpful to me. And if you haven't done so already, like, subscribe, and comment. What day is this? Friday. Okay, right, I'm hoping tomorrow I'll be able to do my usual weekend gaming stream of some kind. Not sure what game yet. Let's just assume Phasmophobia, but that might change depending on who's available and what games people have to play with. But we'll try and do something. I might start a stream a little bit earlier, depending on what my schedule is like. I've been waking up earlier and going to bed earlier recently, but it's adjusting my sleep schedule, trying to get it back to normal. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.